Primary Arms is one of those companies that you can get really good quality for a reasonable price. One of the rules of thumb traditionally is that your glass should be as expensive as your gun. But with Primary Arms, I think they've kind of changed. This is a game changer. And you can get some really good glass that really could cost a lot more with similar glass in another scope. And it's one of the reasons why they're so popular. I've said this a number of times when I've done reviews on the Primary Arm scopes, is that when I would do a Vortex or a Leatherwood Hilux, or no matter what kind of scope, people would pipe in about Primary Arms, and they have a really loyal following because the scopes are just really good. And I've had a lot of good experience, and a lot of other guys have. This scope in particular has the ACSS reticle, which, guys, I'm just going to tell you, out of all the scopes I have, the ACSS reticle is my favorite. Thank goodness I have an ACSS reticle in one of my Trijicon ACOGs, and it's my favorite ACOG, also from Primary Arms. And that says a lot about this reticle system. But we're going to talk about the system itself. This is particularly geared toward your 7.62 by 3.9, your AK or your CMMG Mutant, or some kind of even AR with an AK round, or 300 Blackout. And the scope is designated for bullet drop, and it just fits that caliber. Now, one of the great things about the 1-6, even the 1-4 scopes that have come out, is that you can use this similar to a red dot when you're using 1 power. But then you have the capability to jump it up to 6 power to get really precision shots at distance. With the 7.62 by 3.9 and the 300 Blackout round, there's not as many options as there are for some of the other reticles, 5.56 and 308. So it makes it really nice for this to be designated for your AK rifle, or like this CMMG Mutant, or a Mini 30, or a lot of other type rifles that shoot the 7.62 by 3.9. It gives you the right bullet drop, gives you the correct ranging information, and that's really where you can make the shots, and you're not missing shots. Now, whether you're using this in a tactical situation, home defense, or you're using it for a hunting scope. One of the things I love about this optic is that here I'm shooting at 100 yards, hitting steel pretty rapidly. I'm going to transition over and shoot at 200 yards. Able to set my sight right where I want it, making those shots. And then I'm going to take and turn it to 300. I just moved it. And you can hear the steel at 300. So I've gone from 100 to 200 to 300 quickly. And yet I can still make those CQB real close-up shots as well. Now, this is the reticle looking through the scope. This is at 1x. This reticle is set up for bullet drop for your 7.62 by 3.9 or your 300 Blackout. And it has the chevron, which a lot of the ACSS reticle scopes have a horseshoe. But what I really like about that point on the end of that chevron is that you can get really precise aiming. Now, the other good thing about this type scope that really surpasses most of your red dots is that even on 1x, this is an etched reticle. So even if your electronics fail, you have this reference point on the sight. And guys, to be honest, this is what I typically shoot during the daylight. If it starts to get a little dark, I can turn on my illuminated reticle. Now I'm going to go to 11, and you can see the chevron is illuminated. And that's all that's illuminated. But that's what you set your sight at. And then of course this is 11, and it drops down 10, 9. Now it's going to almost disappear to us, but really in bright daylight you can typically see it. But you get the idea. Okay, that tree is 100 yards away at 6 power. I'm just going to go ahead and bring it back to show you where we are. It's just a really good crisp sight. Now we're looking through an iPhone 6 and looking through the scope, so you're not going to get the true color, but these Primary Arm scopes are very crisp and do very well. And for the money, really, you just can't beat it. Now this is your ACSS reticle, and the first thing you're going to notice is the chevron. This is your aiming point. This is what draws your eye. And for CQB, this is what you use. Using that tip of the chevron, you can get really good accuracy. Now you want to sight your rifle in at 50 yards, which will also give you a 200-yard sight in. And then you have your bullet drop that comes all the way down here out to 600 yards. So you see you got your 400, 500, and then 600 yards. And then you have these lines that cut across. This is if someone is laying prone. This is the width of a shoulder of a man, 18 inches. And so you can range estimate if the shoulder width is this far apart, you can match it to either the different stratia lines right here. To the side you have wind holdover here and here. This is based on a 5-mile-an-hour wind, which will give you at least a reference point. If it's 2.5 miles, then you just half that. If it's 10 miles an hour, you double it. So it gives you a little bit of a reference to be able to get to that windage. Now we have ranging estimation also here on the side, and this is set that if a man has his feet right here and he reaches all the way to the top at 6x, that's at 400 yards. 500 yards here, 600 yards here. So the top of his head is going to touch right here, and then down at the bottom will be his feet. That makes it really easy to be able to estimate how far he is, because that's the reason why most shots are missed, is because of range estimation. Now we have leads on either side. This is based on 8.6 miles an hour that a man runs if he's carrying a weapon. So let's say that you see him here from your reticle, you take your shot. By the time he gets to here, the shot will impact. If the man's walking, you actually shoot when the man reaches right here, and of course right here, walking into the point of aim. Now this is all based on supersonic ammunition, and especially with 300 blackout. If you're using subsonic, there's a chart that'll tell you how to range estimate that as well, because the velocities are slower and your bullet's dropping quicker. But the genius behind the ACSS is that everything's done for you. The math is done. You can get your range estimation, you can get your windage, you can even get your leads. Everything's done right here on the screen, so you're able to get right to the shot and make it count. And again, this is etched into the scope, so you don't have to worry about electronic failure in case this goes to black, but it's still black. And one thing I do want to mention is, even though it has 11 settings plus 0, none of those are night vision compatible. The scope is 10 inches in length and it weighs 15.5 ounces. It's not very large. I mean, it does fit nicely on here, but again, it gives you that capability. It's a 30mm tube, so it's going to give you really good light transmission. Fully coated glass, and these are nitrogen purged, which make them fog-proof and waterproof. And there have been a lot of tests on these as well, buried in the snow, in the mud, with the illumination left on. And even in that scenario, these hold up very well. They're very rugged scopes. Now I have one of the American Defense quick detach mounts on here, which I've really grown to love those mounts. They're very reasonable, and it's really easy to take these on and off. And here's the other side, you just depress and these pull off, and then when you reattach them, they re-zero. The finish is very well done, what you would typically see with a much more expensive scope. And of course ACSS right here, and the 300 blackout or 7.62 by 3.9. You have scope covers that come with it, and these are just pop-ups. Of course, you can remove those if you want. It does help protect your lens from dust. The magnification knob, there's a small little riser, and you can just turn this. It's really smooth turning. So you can go from 1 power all the way up to the 6 power setting, and it just is very smooth. Here you have a focus ring at the back to be able to set it to whatever your eye is. This is really great, especially if you need glasses or you wear glasses. You can take them off and set this ring to be able to focus in on your target and on the reticle. Your illumination dial right here, the mark to start it, there's a small little dot right here to tell you where you are. So I'm here on 0. I can go clockwise to all the way 11 positions all the way around, and of course 11 being your brightest. You can feel it's tactile, so when you hit it, it's not going to accidentally, or you're not going to go too far. It stops with each one. Your battery cover is attached to your illumination knob. Bring it out. And here we have one of the 2032 batteries. These are very common. They're 3 volt, and then it has some springs to hold it into place. One thing too, a lot of times when you're messing with especially inferior optics, is the threads are not that great, but here they're very positive threads and it locks down really well. The elevation turrets are pretty close to the scope. Here we have our windage. It's at half MOA, clearly marked, tells you which direction to go into. You can hear them and they're tactile. Then just take it again, threads, and it is brass threads. Tightens up very well. And of course, with your elevation, same thing. There's a 100 MOA adjustment with these, and again, it is half MOA for every single click. Now your eye relief is very generous. It's 3.5 inches at 1 power and then 3.3 inches when you get to 6 power. Of course, that brings your field of view down. So, but it's really easy, again, not even 2/10 of an inch. Now at the range, one of the great things about this optic is the 1:6 power. You know, we can get really close-up shots at 1 power, you know, CQB stuff. And then range out if you need to get a little more precision shots all the way out to 6 power. And it's one of the things that's really cool. They did the 1:4, that was the rage for a while. Now the 1:6 has really kind of taken over that market. It's like having a red dot and a magnified optic on here at the same time. With the illuminated reticle, you can really find that chevron really quickly. And then with all the bullet drop compensation that goes on the side, you can range it out to distance. And that's really something that I personally like. I like to be able to really hit targets out. Yes, you can do it with a regular red dot, but with the etched reticle, if your red dot goes out, you're still good to go. And that to me is a huge plus. The scope held up well, shooting 7.62 repeatedly, even rapid fire. The gun just functioned right, and you pull that up to your shoulder and you can find that chevron really quick. It draws your eye to it, which makes it really nice. Again, whether it's on or off, it really makes a difference. Now, having the illuminated reticle capability, especially in low light conditions, you'll be able to see that chevron. If it's all black and you're looking at a black background, you're not going to be able to see. But if you pull that illumination up, it'll give you a great reference point, and then you can find your target, and you'll know where you're shooting. This would be really good for hunting, considering a lot of times hunting situations are in low light, early morning, late evening. Now the scope is to be set for a 50-yard zero. So we set it out at 50 yards, first group, a little sporadic, then I tightened it up. Second group, brought it down just a little bit, still shooting a little bit to the right, and but really good, solid, tight groups. And this will also give you a 200-yard zero as well. We're using the Fusion soft point 123 grain, 7.62 by 3.9, and this is from Federal Premium. I want to thank those guys for sending this ammo for the evaluation. And easy to see targets. And I always get a question about my rifle rest. These are from Foam Action Sports. They weigh 2 ounces, and man, these things are fantastic, especially if you're carrying a lot of extra gear at the range. The price of the 1:6 ACSS reticle 7.62 by 3.9 scope is $269.99, which is a great price. It's a lot easier to pay than probably to say all that I just said, but Primary Arms does make really good quality scopes for the money. You just can't beat it. A lot of cool features, and I have a number of these ACSS reticle scopes, and again guys, I'm telling you, they are my favorite. And also the CMMG Mutant, check it out. It shoots 7.62 by 3.9. It's set up in the AR platform, and yet has the heavier bolt that is a deficit for a lot of your standard AR 7.62 by 3.9s. This is a great rifle. It has been fantastic, and I've shot it a lot. So go to primaryarms.com if you want more information about the ACSS reticle system, about all the different scopes that they offer, and they offer a lot of other optics as well. And one of the things I really like to point out is just don't take my word for it. There are a lot of other reviews on the ACSS reticle, on the Primary Arms. Check them out. A lot of users, a lot of reviewers, and you can really put together if this is the scope for you. Be strong, be of good courage. God bless America. Long live the Republic. distance shooting. I don't want to say all that. I'm going to say that. I'm going to say that before. So you can get the primary arms 1 to 6. The primary arms 1 to 6, 7.62 or 300 blackout reticle. Let's check it out. God, that's a lot.